There's 33 vertebrae in your spine. There's 33 years in the life of Jesus. Substance that comes from your medulla, which looks like the Ark of the Covenant, has angel's wings around it, the whole thing. Trip down your spine to your sacrum, which is Christ coming down into human form. Yeah. And if you don't squander that essence, that sexual essence, it ascends again and goes back up to heaven, which is your thing. It's also the story of Santa Claus. Why he comes down the chimney is because this juice or this substance actually passes what's called the claustrum, which is where they got Santa Claus. So it goes down the chimney and back up the chimney.
In the brain, in the cranium, there is the cerebrum. And in the cerebrum, and in particular the claustrum is sitting right there in the middle of the head, virtually. From the claustrum there is a secretion, brain fluid. And this fluid is an oil. And in ancient times, this fluid, in Greek, it's called Christos. It's called the Christ. It's this beautiful fluid which comes from the cerebrum and pours down the spinal cord. It goes down the spinal cord and it reaches the sacral plexus, right next door to the sacrum, which are the 5 second bottom-most fused vertebrae bones at the bottom of the spinal column. The bottommost portion of the spinal column is called the coccyx. Then just above that is the sacrum, 5 fused bones. So the sacral plexus is connected to the sacrum. And the fluid which comes from the cerebrum pours down the spinal cord and comes to the bottommost part of the spinal cord. Now, the claustrum is otherwise known as the holy claustrum, simply because of this beautiful oil, this Christos, that is produced and secreted. You see, the word secret comes from secretion, because this secretion is a secret. And the sacrum is the sacred part.
We have Christians talking about Christ as way to
Pineal gland is the electric portion, and the pituitary gland is the magnetic portion. So the oil is differentiated and it is brought down the spinal cord via the Pingala and the Ida nerves. These are what is otherwise known as the Kundalini and the Kundabhatha. So it arrives at the sacral plexus and awaits for the germinating of the seed once a month, 12 times a year. And if we are able to transmute that seed and cause it to rise, as it rises in the spinal cord, it eventually reaches the medulla oblongata and the pons and the midbrain, and it crosses the vagus nerve, otherwise known as the pneumogastric nerve. It's a nerve which descends from the brain area, from the pineal and pituitary glands, respectively, and it feeds the lungs and the stomach. It's a network of nerves. And this network of nerves is called the tree of life. And you see, the ancients knew that this seed that is born in Bethlehem once a month is the Christ. And that if one were to abstain from sex during that period, that oil and seed would be saved. And it would rise. And it would burst through the heart chakra, through the throat chakra, and eventually the oil would arrive with its higher vibration, because you see at the bottom, the oil has a very low vibratory rate. Whereas with proper practices, meditation, breathing, good eating, and good peaceful behavior, one is able to raise that Christ, that oil, so that it crosses the vagus nerve at the top of the spinal column, the 33 vertebrae of the spinal column. You see, because the Christ is crucified at 33 years of age. When the oil arrives at the very, very top, there awaiting is the optic thalamus, an egg-shaped organ in the middle of the head. When it crosses this pneumogastric nerve, this is called the crucifixion. The oil is not killed and destroyed, but it is magnified 1,000-fold. And the oil then touches the optic thalamus and for 2.5 days remains in a condition that is called dead, that is considered to be dead, and then reaches the pineal gland after 2.5 days and illuminates the optic thalamus and the pineal gland.
I project myself outside of myself, and I talk to myself when I'm speaking.
Y'all couldn't even hear me. All right. So basically, what I was saying before I was muted, this is a daily energy reading, something that I'm doing because of the love of spirituality. When I started this channel, it was mainly because I wanted to give back, just wanted to share spiritual information, didn't know that it was going to connect to people. I honestly started this channel so I could personally listen to just videos and podcasts that I would do for myself while I was a truck driver. Slowly but surely, the channel had grew. And so I started this thing in 2018 called Daily Energy Readings. And still, like the continuation and the daily presence of observing astronomical insights, it really changed my life. And it, when we set intentions and say, for instance, you want to get a lot of money, you rarely do the thing that got you the money. Give me a second. Damn kids. Anyways, so I started doing these daily energy readings and they really started to change my life. And when we do the things and we change our life, we rarely do the things that we did to get us to where we are today. And that is really fucked up. And I was reminded of it when I was doing a reading. Go ahead, check the link in the description, hoodmystic.com, book a reading with your boy. But beyond that part, um, somebody had told me about it, and in my mind I said it was really no reason why I couldn't do it. because I need to study every day. And if I'm studying and I hold the information within my mind, that's not going to help anybody. So if I'm learning information, the best thing for me to do is to share the information that I learn, so it could be more of like a fire leads to fire, which leads to fire, which leads to fire energy. Now that Mars is in Aries, it got me into more or less acting. And so, more or less, it's just trying to be consistent about the application of daily energy readings. And it's not easy because I have 5 children, have multiple businesses, and I'm an active father. So sometimes, like just now, if I'm like, all right, be quiet, that's like fingers crossed, you know what I'm saying? So but beyond that, I still don't care. I'm gonna still come with the information because that's the most important thing in reference to a consistent approach to spirituality. Like in the summertime, kids not in school, they want to be with their dad, so that's cool. But at the same time, you got to relax and be quiet while daddy does his thing. You feel me? So with that being said, if y'all can hear me okay, I know I was muted at first, but if the sound is all right, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. We're going to talk about this energy, and the first thing that I want to talk about is the 10 of Cups, or not even the 10 of Cups, the 10 of this. And we want to look at the Thoth Tarot deck. And we're just talking about Mercury. And after this, we'll talk about what Mercury is and what Mercury isn't. Isn't this so cool, guys? Nah. Let's get into the 10 of this now that I got it pulled up. I'm about to share my screen like Mary J. Blige. She would share her world, but I'm gonna just share my screen with y'all. I feel like sharing the world is a tad bit OD, right? So when you look at the 10 of this, and this is the card of wealth, and this card is formulated in this that are in the shape of the tree of life. And when you look at the tree of life is built upon sephiroths or portals or circles or chakras, however you want to look at it. But these are these circles that create this shape that represent the energy vortexes that lay within the human body. On top of all of these vortexes, this is not a clear view of the card, and maybe I can find a bigger one, an even better one, to give us this might be a little better. So when you look at the 10 of cups, the 10 of this, I don't know, I keep calling it everything but what it is. The 10 of this, you'll see Mercury on all of the Sephiroths. Even at the bottom, that is the glyph of the caduceus or the rod of Asclepius, which is another energy tapped into Mercury. All of these Sephiroths, in one way or another, connect back to Mercury. And so, what this is actually saying when you get into the book of Thoth is that Mercury rules the entire lexicon of energy. It is the crown chakra, it is the root chakra. And that might be a little bit confusing because what do you mean Mercury is everything? Well, Mercury is semen, and semen, of course, is in the testicles, and without semen, none of us will have a body. So within our whole entire being is we're basically, a sperm cell that just grew up. So everything within our essence is related to the seed. It's just that we can't really differentiate it. So even in our brain, so Mercury is the crown chakra ultimately. And I don't know how to spell pituitary to save my life. So in the pituitary gland, if the pituitary gland does not produce enough of a hormone, this can affect the fertility in men because reduced production will affect the numbers of sperm produced. And this is happening in the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the crown chakra. The crown chakra is the master gland. The master gland is Mercury, but Mercury is our sperm, and women, it is our ovaries. But these are the things that are controlling our whole entire drive, whether we know it or not. Sometimes we can get so smart about life and get degrees, which is a coping mechanism a lot of time. We could, you know, get into certain social circles, which is always a coping mechanism, because ultimately what we're trying to do with this energy, which is all in Gemini, is to connect with something deep, something spiritual. So we're looking at the sun, Venus, and Mercury, Mercury being exalted in Gemini, which is about to be retrograde in this energy. So the feelings that you are feeling now, the unprocessed mental disabilities that we are feeling, which we are disconnected from our soul. We don't know the 99% invisible. And so because of that, thank you. And because of that, we stay in a particular mental illness. So when we deal with Gemini, all of the cards, 8, 9, and 10, that rule Gemini, 8, 9, 10 of swords, deal with some form of mental illness. And we all are suffering from the mental illness of not knowing who we are at a soul level. So Sun, Venus, and Mercury is going to triple down on this energy unless you start to get into the reality that you have a twin soul. That's the deepest reality. To be able to have an open door policy with another human being. And this is much different between, being with somebody and you can't stand his black ass, right? We've all been there in one way or another. So we're talking about the energy that rules over Gemini, which is what? What is the major tarot card? What is the major tarot card that rules over Gemini? What is the name of the card? Put it in the chat, those who study the tarot. Jabriz, of course, one of the initiates going to know that, like the back of his hand, because he do this shit. He studied this shit. The Lovers is the major arcana card that some say best represents Gemini. This card is about choice and understanding opposing sides to make decisions. Geminis are known for being a strong sign with natural duality, and they often have to choose between important paths in life. The Lover's card provides two narratives, and Geminis need to use their mercurial skills to make the right decision. So, all of this energy will have you split up in two, and that's going to cause mental illness, anxiety, depression, sadness, because there is one right thing that you should be doing. In all moments, you don't have a decision, you don't have a choice, but it's only when you are completely separated from your twin flame that you have freedom to do everything that you want to do, and you don't have nobody to, rub your booty at night. And somehow that is perfectly fine with people. But when we talk about astrology, the third sign that we get to is Gemini, and Gemini represents twins. So, however you want to look at twins, you have a soul, you have a masculine principle, you have a feminine principle. And if you don't get down with this shit, you're not going to be able to be in a space where you're actually happy. So, let's break this shit down. The person that you see the most, which is your mother and your father, is going to be your blueprint of what you want sexually out of a person. When you go outside of that, you think that you can do that based upon attraction, but it's going to be so very confusing. What you are searching for is a mother archetype. What you are searching for is a father archetype. this is what psychologists study and talk about for centuries. Why are people so motherfucking crazy? Because they think they can do whatever they want to do, but they actually have a path that is more centered in understanding what it is to actually do this Kundalini stuff. So, why would it be Kundalini? Because we're talking about sperm. Okay. Sperm is the fluid of Kundalini. This energy that is at the base of your spine is Kundalini. And this all represents Jesus and all of that, because Jesus was actually born in a manger, right? Withholding semen allows the energy to awaken Kundalini, right? So when we talk about Mercury, we're talking about sperm, we're talking about Kundalini. Ladies, it's okay, you can do it too, right? Is we all come from the same sperm, right? It's all normal, regular stuff, right? And girls be wanting that stuff too. You know what I mean? In different types of ways, but we're not gonna talk about that. So what was I about to go look up? So we looked at sperm, Kundalini, Mercury. Then we get into the whole day. What is today called? Today is Wednesday, right? Wednesday is called Hump Day. Why? Why is Wednesday called Hump Day? The phrase represents the concept of a week as a metaphorical hill that a person climbs, with Wednesday typically considered the middle or peak of the week. Okay, but I'm confused because I thought hump. What is humping? You see how the English language is? I don't know what y'all call. What is the vulgar slang? To have sex with. You see how that work? You see how that work? One's in the chat if you see how that work. We talking about Mercury Day. We talking about Hump Day. We talking about sperm, and here we are. We trying to have some sex, right? See, none of the spiritual people is going to talk about sex. Yet this is how we actually came into existence. One day you woke up and you was staring either at your mama or your daddy. If you was growing up in the 80s and 90s in the black community, 9 times out of 10 you were just looking at your mama because daddy was doing what he wanted to do. And you know that shit ain't nothing new, right? Most of us been raised by our mamas because our daddy was just out here in these streets before the internet. And it was wilder in the internet because you couldn't really track these niggas down. You know, they was like thieves in the night, right? So the name Wednesday, the name Wednesday continues Middle English, Old English still had, which would still be considered as Woden's Day. By the early 13th century, the I mutated form was introduced unetymologically. The name is a calque of the Latin dies, Mercury, day of Mercury, reflecting the fact that the Germanic god Woden during the Roman era was interpreted as Germanic Mercury. So we talked about this yesterday, but we should talk about it every day. When we're talking about the days of the week, we're talking about planets. When we talk about planets, we're actually talking about chakras. Mercury is the crown chakra because it rules the pituitary gland. In the midst of a lot of things that it controls the sperm and sperm production, which is at the root chakra, the basis of your existence. But the basis of your existence doesn't create itself, it comes from a higher consciousness, which is Mercury. But Mercury is a trickster because it will present itself as basically nothing like sperm. If you just ejaculate on a wall, I couldn't think of anything, it just will just stick there. But if you ejaculate inside of a divine feminine, it will create a child. So it is a trickster. It is one way, it is a whole different way. But when we study in Mercury, we're actually studying one of the deepest sciences known to man. So, in the essence of the day, Mercury is doing a hard trine to Saturn. And the third deacon of Mercury is about friendships and family members. And this is what is like the final boss that one must always come into. What Carl Jung, he calls it individuation. And most black people, a lot of black women, they like really are connected to their family more than they're connected to their soul. So the loop in the cycle in the mental illness is the fact that you will be connected to people that are not in relation to your soul in no form or fashion, meaning your lineage, your future. Because the reality, and if you do this, more power to you, but one's in the chat if it's weird to have sex with your family members. One's in the chat if it's completely weird and unacceptable to have sex with your family members. One's in the chat if you have sex with somebody outside of your family, that's completely normal. So therefore, our modes and functions and morals shouldn't be the thing we bring to the table because we are not fucking none of that. We're fucking something completely foreign to us, which we should be in the mode of individuation, which is another fancy word for saying being completely open-minded to the person that's in front of us. Because what we're going to say is like, not in my family, but that would be saying, I fuck my family, but you don't fuck your family. So this is common sense, but sense ain't common because 10 times out of 10, you got to fight through a whole bunch of bitter, beer faced ass people to get to your actual lover because they've uncles and cousins like, what you doing talking to my cousin? What you doing talking to my niece? Like, we about to do some real freaky ass shit. Is this what you want to hear? Like, we about to do some nasty shit. Is this what we're gonna be talking about? Of course not. But it's the truth. It's the truth. What you doing at the barbecue? Acting like y'all all about to agree morally because we're a part of a family. Yeah, that's a mental illness. And Mercury, oh my goodness, you're gonna be in a state of 8 of Swords, 9 of Swords, 10 of Swords for your whole life. I'm old enough. I've seen people live and die with fucked up mentalities, meaning that if you don't actually care to correct your mindset and do the psychoanalysis, it's not going to correct itself one day. So if individuation is a concept, Mercury is exalted in Gemini, you have to be a king of your mind. You have to read the first chapter of the Kabbalion, The Mind is All, not your family's objections and judgments over the decisions that you make with your sperm and your ovaries. Like, that's not even something that would even be real or make any type of sense. Yet and still, these are the paradigms that a person have to fight and cross through. So when we talk about Saturn, we're talking about a point in time where the psychic energy that a scammer has been dealing with has been tremendous. And just the facts of like learning how to build community and standing strong, not in like a community sense, not in like a family sense, but like understanding your guides, your ancestors, deities, the spiritual world. Aquarius deals with electricity, the electric universe, where all of these different dimensions and spirits reside at, where we have access to through the modality of smoke. Make sure you get your smudge kits. Beyond that, if you're not actually connecting to all of these particular energies, but you're like trying to connect to people or, you know, even be isolated. It's like a bunch of trick bags with Saturn and the third deacon of Aquarius, where the only solution is to be completely honest. And honesty is going to look different. But the reality is that what do you have to offer to the collective? Because what is going to be the karma for a lot of people, Saturn is the Lord of karma, right? I'm not just kind of just saying shit. I can show you better than I can tell you. because people will be wondering why shit is not going on the way that it's supposed to be going. In astrology, Saturn is known as the Lord of Karma. So when you are looking at your life, you're looking at your finances, you're looking at your romantic life, 10 times out of 10, you're selfish, or 10 times out of 10, you don't practice discernment. You got to be generous and discerning at the same time, because that's what life is. And ultimately, I think when you get to the heart chakra, you get into the energy of the sun. The sun shines on everybody, crook, criminal, and peacemaker. It's only human beings at a lower dimension that are trying to differentiate who they're going to give their love to. The heart chakra is about unconditional love. And the ways that you give unconditional love is by giving. You don't even receive when you're in the realm of unconditional love. You're always looking to help. You're always looking to assist. And this is how people become power couples. When you are in the mode of receiving and looking for something out of your lover, Mercury and Gemini. Gemini is exalted. Well, Mercury is exalted in Gemini. If you are in a space of receiving, being conditional in your relationship, this going to create mental illness or more karma for people. And these life lessons that you have in through your experiences, where are you taking accountability at? Where are you learning? Because the flip side of this energy is always, it was her fault, it was his fault. It was her fault. It was his fault. It was her fault and it was his fault. That is not a life lesson. You're not going to be able to learn and progress through no type of energy trying to blame and point fingers. So, in what ways can you learn how to be unconditional? In what ways can you learn how to be in the mindset of just understanding who you are? At the deeper levels, we get into the Sabian symbol of Mercury, which once again we have the twin uh symbology that one should be able to tune to, where it's going deep within the darkness, right? It's like trying to find somewhere and it ain't no lights, you don't got no map, and you got to find your way home. So this actual path working is very, very hard, but it can be done. But just understand you find it through the darkness. Children skating on ice. So we're also relating the symbology of what's being said. So ice is emotions that have been crystallized, feelings that have been crystallized. This shows up as repressed mental aspects. And I'm going to talk about this more on Friday when I deal with Venus and Mercury, or I'm sorry, Venus and Mars. But when we're dealing with the ego, there's so much repressed shit that's going on because the ego can only contain so much information that who we truly are can be completely lost to us. So it is very important to go in the darkness to start to gather some of those repressed memories. When you're having dreams, your dreams are the repressed memories that don't fit in your conscious mind. So a lot of dreams could be not a good thing. Amazing, beautiful dreams that you're decoding could be like a huge red alert alarm, because these are the things that you are repressing in your waking life. Lo and behold, it's a scam artist that say, boom, let's just, pump up this idea, let's decode it, when really it should be incorporated and integrated as deep as you can, because everything that we are comes from the mode of meditation, and nobody can meditate for you. So because nobody can't meditate for you, you got to get into the mode of capturing your repressed mindsets. And on top of that, what are you doing to share? What are you doing to like enjoy the fruits of your labor? So skating could represent enjoyment from that inner child perspective, that innocent perspective. So children skating on ice is learning how to enjoy your life on top of these repressed or tragic situations that have, we have lost, and the trauma, the guilt, all of these particular thought forms that have crystallized, that have become a part of our personalities. If you know somebody like that, then 10 times out of 10, you just like that. You just don't recognize it because 100% of the people have repressed things going on within them. So that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy life, right? So how do you explain this deeper? Refusing to be defeated, right? Learning how to utilize recreation as a tool for self vitalization. Another message that I got from ice is that it's temporary, right? Ice can only occur in the winter. In the summertime, when the temperature rises, the ice is no longer there. So, generally, when we're going through negative energies such as mental illness, mental trauma, things of that nature, those are very temporary states of being, even if it doesn't feel that way. So, in order to overcome it, you would have to develop a positive mindset. So, it's very centered in this concept called recreation, which could be broken down to recreate, right? So, we might think of like recreation as like having fun, going to a park, things of that nature, but in this context it is much more of a spiritual, biological reality that comes from semen retention and kundalini work, because we have the mode to create would be the natural modality of having sex. Recreate would be the modality of kundalini, because it is the same energy. Your sexual desires is the same energy that is needed to do kundalini or spiritual work. So, whether you're in a relationship, single, if you're craving for sexual connection, it is time to do kundalini work. Because I was alone and single and wanting to get something to get popping, trying to do everything to get it popping. And then the reality hit me is, why am I in this state of mind, state of being? Let's just redirect the energy and start writing, start working out, start performing, start doing other things in reference to just wanting to procreate. Recreate is taking that sexual energy and sending it up your spine, because it already comes down your spine through the mode of sperm and ovaries. Men, we are constantly creating sperm. That is a creation. To have a recreate, to recreate, would be to do something completely opposite to that energy. Create anew. This is your opportunity. This is always your opportunity. But when we're talking about a trine, we're also talking about the discipline needed. And we always have to differentiate sexual contact from ejaculation, because these are two different things. If you have sexual contact without the mode of ejaculation, you're going to notice that you're going to get so strong sexually. You're going to get so strong eternally, because you're never losing your fire, but you're exercising your fire. The common misconception is that semen retention should be minus sexual contact, but that is not going to actually build your fire. So many people can talk about semen retention, which is cool, and it have a lot of benefits, but at the end of the day, it's not going to help you, right? If you can't use it as a magical modality, if you can't use it as a form of intention creation and starting your life over as a whole new being, this is the way of doing it. So, a new creation, regeneration, this is a word that we should look at when we look at just a simple word such as recreation, right? We're going to go play, have fun. Recreation is also regeneration. What is regeneration? The act of regenerating or producing anew. Again, beget, produce. So when we talk about gene, we're talking about our genes. And our genes are some deep spiritual things like our DNA. So when we think about our DNA, we could pass our DNA and create a whole nother being, a whole nother human being. But we can also take that same DNA and create a whole new being unto ourselves. So even if you are single, even if you are in a relationship, this is something that you should actually take note of and do the science on. So another aspect of this card would, or this energy would be the particular card of the of Mercury in the third decan, which would be the Ten of Swords. Now, the Ten of Swords represents Malkuth. Malkuth is the physical world. The Ten of Swords is the mental, physical world. It is the world that is basically the astral world of unconscious, which is the mental world. And when we talk about our mental world, the common misconception is that it is just simply the thoughts that we are having. That is not the mental world. The mental world is the true reality of who you are for millions of years. It is your actual consciousness that makes you a soul being. Our consciousness is trapped in the physical bodies, but we don't recognize it. So that means that it's repressed, suppressed. We're not completely in tune to who we are at a spiritual level. This is an opportunity to do so. And so, what we're talking about is Mercury being in this energy. So, when we talk about Mercury, you're still talking about Kundalini, right? As many times as you're going to see it, you're always going to see Christ and the Kundalini. And so, what I want to talk about is just a simple Bible verse that explains it very, very clearly. So, when we're talking about the tree of life, we're talking about making a right decision. We're talking about doing the thing that is right. We're not talking about being confused, making a choice, doing what we have to do, not being sure. Like, we are really trying to make a decision, trying to figure out what we should do. And when it comes to it, there is one thing that you always should do, no matter who is blocking you, no matter who is stopping you, no matter how you feel. It is always something that you need to do. So what happens is we get blocked from that. And some people get blacked, but that's a whole nother conversation as well. Um, in Matthew 6 is talking about prayer. And prayer is simply receiving divine light so you could go in your divine path. That is very simple for people, and there's billions of people, so you should never be listening to nobody tell you how to live your life. The hardest part about this spiritual journey is being able to quiet your mind for long enough to go within yourself. And so I say it a lot, but even though when I study, I find new ways of saying the same thing. In Matthew 6, it says, beware of practicing your righteousness before others to be seen by them. Otherwise, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So, Father in heaven is your soul or Mercury or your crown chakra. And it's kind of crazy that he's saying it, but in reality, it makes sense because if we got to go to church to find God, then how am I going to find God within myself? And then where am I going to find God within myself at? So there's an actual place, the pineal pituitary gland, hypothalamus, the Holy Trinity, right? Now, if we all talking about it in church, then how is the congregation going to find it within themselves? They can't find it within themselves because they don't know where to look at, and they damn sure don't know where to look at it on earth. So in verse 2, it goes, so whenever you do righteousness or righteous things, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do. So the key to enlightenment is to be in this space and not try to get fame and money from it. That's the key. And so when we are talking about spirituality and doing research and doing this, it's hard for people to actually do it because they so concerned with trying to monetize some shit. And you might not even be good enough on the spiritual level to be monetizing some shit. Because in reality, some of these people is cold with this shit. You understand? Like some people can kind of read you for real and know your goddamn mama name. Like, you better tell Gloria to leave you alone. You'd be like, how you know my mama name? Like, what the hell? Yeah, I see everything. And she'd be charging $5,000. And you'd be like, here you go, ma'am. You wouldn't pay her $5,000 no sooner. But it's some people that just got a fucking tarot deck yesterday talking about I'm spiritual. And it don't work like that, right? Whenever you do righteous things, do not sound a trumpet before as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, so that you may be glorified by men, right? This is not, you don't need people to tell you that you deep. When I'm out and about, I don't need people to say, oh my gosh, you the hood mystic, you healed me some time back. I don't need that, because honestly, it's all about you connecting to your heavenly Father. Does it say our heavenly Father? One's in the chat if it says your Father in heaven. Do we need to do an English lesson? I think we need to do an English lesson because I went to public school. Your means what? What does your mean? Your means belonging to or associated with the person or people that the speaker is addressing. Belonging to or associate with any person in general. Okay, so let's go back to the thing. Your Father in heaven, belonging to whoever the person is or whoever the people is. Whoever got ears to hear and eyes to see. Your Father is not my Father. Don't that make sense? Do we got the same Father? Last time I checked, we had different fathers. We got completely different fathers. So, but when you do, this means righteous things, righteous acts, the right thing to do. You get mad at your kids when they do bullshit and they look at you like, I didn't know. But they knew when you was a little kid, you knew the difference between right and wrong. We say it all day. You know the difference between right and wrong. When you about to slide them pennies down, you know that ain't what you should be doing. But we done got programmed into the space where we going to do it anyway. And we going to be righteous in our wrongness. And that's where we at as a society. But don't be confused about now and moving into the future. Don't be split into two. Think about what is the right thing to do. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Meaning that there is nothing that you should be doing on the esoteric level that you should then come to the forefront saying, yeah, I burnt 2 candles. I burnt a black candle. I put a sigil in it. I put some pussy fluid in it. You know what I'm saying? I pissed on it. Like, you shouldn't be saying stuff like that. You shouldn't be sharing it on Facebook because it'll double back, triple back on your ass, because you should not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So you should have a banishing ritual before you go into ritual, and you should have a banishing ritual before you come out of ritual. because otherwise you're letting your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So it's counterintuitive to say, I want to do a money spell and then do a money spell and then be wondering why my money spell ain't work, because you let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. What you got to do is do a Mercury spell. Or you can get this book, Money Magic, W.D. Frater. And niggas don't want to get the books. Niggas don't want to get the literature. But that's the only thing that's going to help your ass. Taking notes and doing the work for your motherfucking self. Because if I'm doing money magic, I'm doing it for my black ass. I can't do it for you. Same way if I eat some goddamn kale, I can't eat some kale and hope that, you know, Charmaine could get full off of me eating some kale. Y'all would call me a goddamn asshole. If I sat here in front of y'all and did a mukbang and said, by the power of y'all watching me eat all this high expensive food, y'all ass is going to get full. Y'all would call me an asshole and delusional, but as soon as a conscious motherfucker want to do a money spell and a prosperity ritual and charge you $777 to join, your ass think that you're going to be affected by that shit. Get to work. Okay? Do some motherfucking work. Buy some motherfucking books. Oh, baby, this book is hard to understand. You're going to need a dictionary or Google right in front of you, but it's so rewarding when you break through the barriers of your ignorance. That would be Mercury and Gemini as well. What are you learning? Saturn and Aquarius is about education as well. So we're talking about deep education and learning type of energy. And this is the ways of mastering that energy on a Mercury day. So the more you learn, the more you grow at a spiritual level. These kids going crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and I told them that if they be good, if they be quiet, they can go get some Crocs. We could go see Inside Out 2. But now I'm rethinking the whole thing. You feel me? So I gotta like figure out this whole situation, and and I still gotta work out. So with that being said, man, I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Hope y'all able to learn. Hope y'all able to grow, and you know, expand in some form or some fashion. Don't get into a space where you don't feel like you don't have nothing to offer, because that is not true. Once you get comfortable in that thought space, you end up creating more karma for yourself that you didn't even know that you was creating, because Saturn has been in Aquarius for a while. It's another planet in Aquarius. Well, Saturn, all of these planets have made their way through Aquarius. So Saturn is the last of the Mohicans. So even at this point, figure out what you can offer to the collective. If you are a part of the collective, if you're not a part of a collective and you're just isolated, dealing with things on your own, guess what, motherfucker? That's the problem right there. That's it right there. Don't go no further. We figured it out. You got to work on your social skills. When we talk about social skills, we're talking about Aquarius, and nobody can do that for you. So in life, we tend to think that people going to come out of the woodworks and help us, but how it really works is we show up as our authentic self. People tap into that, and you know, we grow from that point. But beyond that, if you don't show up as your authentic self, you can't wait for somebody to do that for you. But with that being said, let me tend to these kids and do what I need to do for the day. Hopefully, you are able to do the same too. Hopefully, this video was good for you. Like the video if you haven't liked it already. Share this video with somebody that you think may need it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Follow me on IG. Make sure you join us on the motherfucking mystery school, where we are growing a social community. Link is in the description. And yeah, man, we're going to continue to grow and prosper. It's money magic. So, you know, it's blue magic, it's Mercury energy. So let's just focus in on the rituals to bring in prosperity in our life. When we talk about money, it is a mindset. So if your mindset is that you are broke, that's what you're going to create. If your mindset is that you are rich, that's what you're going to create. But you can't just naturally shift your mindset. You want to do a ritual centered in shifting your mindset to a mindset that is more prosperous. And if that mindset is more prosperous, that leads into different things. And these are just things that work for me. I can't recommend that book, Money Magic, enough because that book has literally saved my life and put money in my pocket through the mode of ritual. And I'm just a regular boy from Ohio, smoking black and milds and things of that nature. So y'all from the city, you know, city slickers. So I know y'all get some shit popping, but you got to do the work. So hopefully these daily energy readings keep you in line, keep you focused and disciplined like they are doing for me. This has been the show. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.
Your favorite astrologer's favorite astrologer.